God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha then wakes up in what appears to be just a normal room, with a seemingly 18-year-old man with brown hair and brown eyes in a very comfy-looking black hoodie thing, typing away at a computer. God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha then decides to take a look at what the man is typing, and sees that it not only is exactly describing what is occurring, but that he is typing it before it even happens, as if him typing it was what caused it to occur at all. The man then looks at God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha and smiles. "Oh, hello there, God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha. Nice to see you here." The man says to God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha. God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha then replies, "Hello, who are you? How do you know who I am? And why am I here?" God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha asks, still confused. "Oh, me, I am Grand Author James, and I created you." Grand Author James says while casually smiling, "So, you are, what?" God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha asks, still utterly confused. "Well, to put it blatantly, all of what you have gone through is a story, my story, which I am still currently writing. I even named you after my real-life best friend Alpha. You are my creation, my OC, one could even say." Grand Author James explains quite simply, yet mind-blowingly. God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha just stares blankly at Grand Author James, taking all of this in. "So wait, are you God, or some kind of higher power?" he asks, still confused. "Yes and no. Depends on how you really look at it. Would you consider an author of a book as the god of the world depicted within the book?" Grand Author James asks in response. "Ah." God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha ponders. "So you are like a god, but for your own story? And I am a character in your story." "Yes, and the main character of that story, in fact. In the first two in the series, AI Invasion Europe and AI Invasion USA, you are the main villain of sorts. But in this current story, AI Invasion Space, you are the main protagonist, the main hero, and a tragic hero at that." Grand Author James explains. "AI Invasion?" God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha asks in confusion at the reason for the title. "It's because it is written with the aid of and using AI, okay, not because of AI within the story itself, of which is probably literally the least important plot detail." Grand Author James explains, a little exasperated. "Oh, okay then." God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha says, kind of understanding that part at least. "Now you are seriously sounding like my friend Alpha, or maybe I am. I mean, I am effectively talking to myself right now, after all. I write every single word you say, other than those written by the AI, of course." Grand Author James notes and comments on. "So, I mean, what do I do now?" God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha asks, feeling a bit confused and lost in this new revelation. "I don't really know. I mean, I guess you fight me, then I enhance your power even further, then the story gets its happy ending and epilogue on part 20 finally." Grand Author James says, "Wait, so you're saying that the story is written in parts?" God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha asks, feeling a bit confused. "Yeah, and your introspective breakdown over your friend's advisors suspecting you to be the Dark Emperor happened back in part 2, and you ascended back into being the Dark Emperor back in part 7, and fought Dr. Erebus, Supreme Erebus, in part 8 immediately following that. Your entire existence is based on a slight dark presence, new power." Mentioned towards the very end of part 5, epilogue of AI Invasion Europe, and I just kind of rolled with it and brought it back in AI Invasion USA as the Dark Emperor, which eventually led to me giving you a backstory. Grand Author James explains to God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha. "I see." God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha says, still trying to process all this information. "So you're saying that everything I've done up until now was already part of your story?" "Yeah. And everything you will do until your happy ending is still going to be part of my story. I mean, it's nearing its conclusion." Grand Author James explains quite simply. "Where even did you get the idea for the God Emperors, though?" God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha explains. "I got the idea from Doug's own AI Invasion Europe." Grand Author James explains, blushing a little bit. "Figures, considering how poorly written they are." God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha says, "I feel so weird for typing that out. Let's fight now, okay, so I can get this story done already and have dinner." Grand Author James says quite impatiently. God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha, still confused and somewhat conflicted, agrees to fight Grand Author James. The two characters stand face to face, their auras of power and determination filling the room. The tension between them is palpable as they exchange glances. Grand Author James then instantly blitzes him and one-shots him. Guess I'm like extraversal by that feat. Grand Author James says, "What?" God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha asks, "Here's your power-up. I'm gonna go make myself dinner now." Grand Author James says before then snapping his fingers and ascending God Emperor of the Abyss Alpha even further into simply Grand Emperor Alpha, then taking all of his things and flying off through the wall, then just leaving Grand Emperor Alpha there to make his happy ending of fundamentally changing existence so that segregation, war, and strife and suffering as a whole no longer exist.